This is the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, getting you the information that you need to be a successful real estate investor. Hosted by Mark Monroe, Ronald Walker, Gabe Rodarte, and me, Marty Grizzanti. Combined, we've done thousands of real estate transactions. So get ready for real stories and true case studies on finding deals, growing portfolios, and making money. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, what's happening? This is Gabe with the Real Estate Power Play Podcast, and we have here a freaking awesome show today. It's going to be really excited. We had some stuff just before we got on here, and I got a lot of questions to ask Lou. So, guys, we're excited that you're here, and just want to remind you that this is for anyone who's involved in real estate investing, from beginners to novices to those who are just being creative in their financing structures and how they're structuring their real estate career. So we want to be able to help out and give. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, call us, connect with us any way possible. And we'll be happy to help you out in any way that we can. Today we have the big man, Mark Monroe. Dude, what's happening, man?
How you guys doing? I'm excited to have Lou on. Lou's got me excited. I remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, going back through Lou's stuff back in the day. So I think I have his contracts way back. Wow. I'm sure they're probably not any more because of the rules and everything changed throughout the years. But I remember that. That was great stuff. So I'm excited, Lou. Thanks for coming on. But overall, I'm excited. I launched my book last week, and it was #1 on Amazon right now. It's the #1 bestseller.
All right.
And I learned a lot of these strategies, believe it or not, through Lou.
Wow.
Excellent.
Wow, that's cool.
Good stuff.
So Lou, how you been, man?
I'm fantastic. How about you, Gabe?
We are doing great, man. This is it's a great season to be in. We are, for those who are listening, we are at the end of October, towards the end of October 2022, launching into a very unique economy that we're going into. But this is the go time. If you're a real estate investor and you want to know how to acquire, this is the best time to be looking at it, in our opinion, to really just look at net worth, how to gain wealth, how to come up with creative strategies. So, Lou, why don't we go into what's happening in your world? What's been going on in the last couple months?
Some reason I just lost the feed.
So we can hear you.
We can hear you. You're still
hear me,
on.
but you can't. You can probably see me too, but I can't see you. So let's see. There we go. All right.
Technology.
Yeah.
Remember back in the day, we didn't have these computers. We were doing stuff the old school way,
I do think about that, y'all. I think about that because I used to have to, if I wanted to know anything about a piece of property, I had to drive to the courthouse. Wow. And you went into the records room and you had to hunt through these books. First of all, you had to look it up. Then you had to find the deed book and page number. Then you had to literally take these books off the shelf, open it up, and see the deed for yourself. And wow. I think about how freaking easy real estate is for so many people these days. I mean, with the magic of the touch of your fingertips to this computer, you are able to access incredible reams of data that we had to pain and suffer to get in the past. So guys, real estate is so much easier today than it ever has been in the past. And you can, at lightning speed, find leads that nobody else knows about. And you're able to research those leads and actually put in an offer all electronically now. And it really has opened the door to be able to invest anywhere you want to, from the comfort of your own home in front of your own laptop. Maybe you're sitting out in the yard just surfing for deals. It's something that I just marvel at when I think about how difficult it was back in the day when I first got started.
That's what we want to talk about. It's just how much things are changing. What can we do now? You've gone through a couple real estate cycles, quite a few. Right.
Gabe, in fact, this is my 5th real estate cycle.
Wow.
Right now. We're at the precipice of that. And it's been so great over the years to actually discover, first of all, that the economy is manipulated. It's 100% manipulated. Anyone who doesn't understand that just hasn't done their own research. But I didn't know that back in the day. And I didn't know that there was a way to find that out either. But sure enough, over time, I discovered that we are just pawns in a game. And I said, okay, now that I got it, and the place that I got it and the time that I got that was around 2008. And I got that when a lot of other people got that too. I call it musical chairs. I was left standing when they cut off the music, and I had bought properties right. I had bought them cheap. I had bought them in the right neighborhoods. We had fixed them up beautifully. I was doing tons of renovations back then. I've done hundreds and hundreds of renovations, and we bought them right. We bought them cheap, bought them at auctions. And then we went in and did beautiful things,
right,
columns and dormers and granite and new flooring and the whole nine. And we had lots of people raising their hand and saying, hey, I want to buy that. And we were saying, yeah, baby, come on. And, we're signing the contracts and everything. But nobody sent me the memo that said, we don't have any money today. So we're submitting the contracts to the mortgage brokers, and the mortgage brokers say, yeah, we're working on that. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're paying property taxes, insurance, interest on the loans. And nobody said, we're going to turn around and tell you that we're not going to be funding any of these deals. So I finally woke up one day and I said, you know what? I've got to change what I'm doing. I've got to completely change what I'm doing. Wow. Because as I look back, and at that time, I was about 25 years in the business. I'm over 40 years now in the business. And when I look back over time, what I discovered was that selling was always the mystery. It wasn't the buying. It wasn't the holding. It was the selling. I never knew when I was going to sell. I never knew how much I was going to sell for. I never knew what my final costs were going to be in the sale of that property. Didn't know how long I was going to hold it. Didn't know if there was going to be somebody ripping me off, breaking in, taking my carpet, taking my heating and air conditioning and everything else. Whatever. I've experienced all of that. And so as a result, I said, aha, I got to wake up and smell the coffee. I've got to change everything that I'm doing. I turned around, took those dozen properties that I had on the market, and I opened up my store to selling those properties to my customers. And it really woke me up to the customers that I had in my properties, which at that time I had over 100 properties. And I said, the customers in my properties, I've been treating them like tenants. I really need to be treating them differently. So I created and invented something back then called the Path to Home Ownership, where we help deserving families, regardless of credit or financial background, to end up with home ownership.
Right.
And so as a result of that, I created a brand called Certified Affordable Housing Provider. And so now nationwide, I've got licensees that are doing exactly the same program in their own markets. So what has occurred as an evolution of the very question you asked me about cycles and how do we navigate these cycles, the answer is to have a buyer before you buy. So once you already have a customer, and this is what I call the customer-driven company, where basically you have a customer and now you are able to analyze those customers. You're able to find out how much down payment they have, how much they can afford on a monthly basis, look at their jobs, look at their credit, look at everything, and then go about finding a property for them. So we literally custom buy properties for our customers. So I did two things. I converted the existing clients that I already had into the path to home ownership. And then secondly, I set about just creating a whole marketing system where we bring in customers. We literally bring in customers, they join a membership, and then we start working with those clients to give them the opportunity at home ownership. So I've said a whole bunch without waiting for a question, but
no, that's great stuff. I've been saying for the last several months now, everybody in the past always thought the deal was the gold, but my opinion, and I've been saying it for several months, the buyer is actually the gold.
That's it.
You know,
that's
exactly
it, my friend. It's the buyer is the keys to the kingdom. And we have so often real estate investors ignore that. They say, I'm going to go buy a property, right? I'm going to buy it cheap. I'm going to fix it up beautifully. Then I'm going to hunt for a customer. And that's going to be so easy to find. You know, I might list it with a real estate agent and then put it on the market, or I might try to find that customer myself. Well, doing it in reverse is really the true keys to the kingdom. Because what I discovered, Mark, is that I could actually not only mine to find a customer and, you know, find this gold in these customers that had these big fat down payments, but also the ability to do some or all of the repairs to the home. So as a result of resourcing the customer first, then we go find a property, and you know how it is. Just about every property needs some kind of work, right? So we give our customer the opportunity to do some or all of the repairs to the home in exchange for a credit towards their down payment. So we call that a grant, and we're literally doing an in-house grant with that customer to grant them a credit towards their down payment. And so now that customer is very cleaved to us. We're able to look at them. We're able to work with them. We're able to also make them a member of the team. So not only do we go about resourcing a property, but we have them do the same thing. And so they actually are participating in the whole process.
I love it. I love it. That's great.
Crazy.
So it sounds like it's like you took a lease option and you kind of put it on the lease option strategy, and you kind of create your own and put it on steroids. That's kind of what the just how I'm hearing.
I love that. Yeah, we put the lease option on steroids. In fact, we have 4 levels to the path to home ownership. It's rent, rent to own, owner finance, cash sale. And in fact, there's a 5th one called VIP, and it's for anyone that can't qualify in any one of those 4 categories. Then we put them in a 5th category called VIP, and that just means that they're going to pay us money and help us build up a down payment for them by giving us money and literally being the bank for them until we find a property, until they actually have enough down payment money for us to go about finding a property for them.
So I got a question, Lou, for those who are listening. You came up with this strategy during a down cycle, right? In short, right? You came up with this down cycle, right? Okay. So with that being said, what do you see coming in this cycle that might be different going, you know what, this is really exciting. This is actually going to be really cool, where this cycle is different than others.
Well, it's always happened. Like I said, I'm going in my 5th cycle. It's always happened that our particular angle on the industry is so unique that our business actually increases in bad times. Our business actually gets better in bad times. So, you know, how easy was it to fall off a turnip truck in this prior cycle, which was only a few months ago, by the way.
Just a few months ago.
Just a few months ago. Literally, interest rates have doubled in a few months. So as a result, of course, that puts a chill on the marketplace, and it always will. It always has. It always will. They did it on purpose. We know they did it on purpose, and it's all good for us because that whole group of people that could qualify for a very nice home, and one thing hasn't changed: their income. Their income drives the train. The income always is the keys to the kingdom. And that doesn't change very much. So as a result, there's only a price point that can be purchased. When interest rates goes up, the price point that they can qualify for goes down. So as a result of that, we said, we get great customers, by the way. Some of the recent deals we've done got $55,000 down 40,000, 45,000. We're getting a whole variety of different wonderful down payments from people that have less than perfect credit, or the bank doesn't love them, like entrepreneurs. entrepreneurs are great. They have big fat down payments and the ability to make monthly payments, but they don't fit in the square box, the box that the banks are.
Man, I had this problem so we started a lot of my businesses in 2008, and it was pain in the ass. I knew that deals were out there. I could have got a deal at 50%, and the banks are going, dude, you're an entrepreneur, you're self-employed, this is what's going on. So I have a question that I think that everyone's going to be asking is like, okay, where is the play for me? I'm an investor. I have so many doors right now. Let's just say, you're starting off, you have 10 rental properties or whatever, and you do some flips. This is a full-time investor. And I got probably 5 properties that I'm going to use this strategy on anyways. But let's say I have a deal, it's worth $250 and I'm picking it up for $150. And I don't want to flip it in this market. I got some other things. Are you able to wrap these notes, or are you taking it down? Like, how are you taking down the properties? Are you wrapping these things, RMLO? You're doing the full 9 on this stuff, right?
That's a great question, Gabe. And here's a little tip. I've never been to the bank and I've never qualified for a loan on a single family or small multifamily property. Now, how in the world have I done over 1,000 real estate transactions and never been to the bank? The answer is I discovered that there's other ways to buy property. And here's the writer downer is the seller is the bank. The seller is the bank. So as a result of me connecting with that seller and giving that seller an opportunity to have a better life than the one they've currently got. They want to get rid of that property. They want to get rid of it quickly, and they don't want to go through the pain and suffering of fixing it up like the real estate agent wants them to do and put it on the market and not know when it's going to sell. We can just come along and make a presentation to them. Now, we make a full-blown presentation to a seller. So we've got a presentation kit where we literally make a full-blown sales presentation to a seller. And the reason is that there's many different points that need to be made to a seller in order to get them dialed in to become the bank, right? Because my whole game is to not go to the bank and not qualify for a loan.
Right.
So if I'm not going to go to the bank and qualify for a loan, how am I going to work with this seller? Well, number one, when we go visit with a seller, we have my book, Doing Good While Doing Well. Now, this is my international bestseller on Amazon, and it's not just me and my story, but also licensees from across America telling their stories about how they're helping people in their local market. So we present this book to sellers. We present this book to lenders as well. So what happens is we come in with a very professional presentation. Of course, I'm all logoed up with my certified affordable housing provider. And then I'm telling the seller exactly how we're going to be able to purchase their home. And more importantly, that their home is going to be used to help a deserving family end up with home ownership. So we're not Wall Street coming in here, buying up neighborhoods, converting them to rentals and holding on to them for Wall Street. Instead, we are community affordable housing providers. So as a result of how we approach the marketplace, many times sellers are willing to sell to us for a lower price than they could have actually sold to someone else at.
I love it. That's great stuff. What was the name of that book again? One more time.
This is Doing Good While Doing Well. How real estate investors provide a service and how real estate investors provide a service and make a difference.
I'll have to check one. I have all your other stuff. I don't have that one. So
this is fun stuff, baby. And then this is the other book that I have, and it's called Never Pay Rent Again, The Path to Home Ownership. Now, this is the book that we give potential buyers, and this teaches them about home ownership. This teaches them how to buy, how to become mortgageable.
Goodness, man, that's a freaking novel, man. That's awesome.
So it's really helpful to someone when they're joining us. They join the membership, and we give them that book. And
that's cool.
We also give them a whole platform of videos recorded by a licensed mortgage loan originator that explains to them how they can become mortgageable. So that's our holding tank for these customers. We put them into the membership. Then we go about finding a property that matches their current financial situation.
I love it. Now, how do you find these buyers? How are they coming to you, or how they're finding your program?
So that's part of my secret sauce. And what we do is a marketing system. So we have a number of things that we do online with Craigslist and just a number of places. And in addition to that, we do community-based marketing where we put out our brochures and our information about our program. We connect with City Council, County Commission, the Mayor's Office, Rotary Club, BNI, all the different elements of getting yourself present to the community. And what I have discovered is that, this is what I teach too, is that we buy properties that nobody else knows about. So everybody talks about, there's so much competition out there, and I smile and wave and I say, no, there's not. You get connected to a community and people are going to be bringing deals to you before they ever make it to the market. So a lot of the deals that I buy are completely off market, like nobody else knows about it.
Wow.
And it's all because of that community-based business that I teach people to do.
Okay, so this is really interesting, and this is like 99% of your business. This is pretty much your crux. Okay,
absolutely.
So whenever you talk, like I'm looking at this, and I'm not gonna lie, guys, I get a little overwhelmed, going, "Dang, this is freaking awesome! This is a cool setup, a cool system." Mark has a lot of this stuff. You could tell he has a lot of his mindset has come from stuff that you have done, and just other guys that have used to create a strategy, seller financing. All this type of stuff. So one of the things that I want to know is, when you say get that buyer set up, I've noticed that over the transition, like this morning, I have a deal. I'll probably move on from it, probably assign it to somebody. The buyer has changed, right? The buyer structure has changed in this market. So it's not something I really want. It's kind of a super low margin thing. And I'm like, I don't know, I might just assign it to somebody else, or I could use one of these strategies. So if you can help people understand why is there a shift in the buyer strategy, right?
Oh, you're singing my song, Gabe.
Yeah.
See, this is what I love. Exactly what you're describing to me is exactly a home that I would put on the market as a path to home ownership property. And what I would do is actually use that one to create the Craigslist ad to talk about how we sell our properties. Now, this will excite you. You said it's not got a big margin in it. Well, we actually mark our properties up 10 to 20% above cash market. So we're not even talking about a wholesale deal or an assignment fee. We're talking about cash market that a brand new buyer would come in with.
Can you qualify what cash market would mean, like an as-is type market, or what do you mean?
Whatever a new buyer coming in with a credit that could qualify for a loan from the bank, whatever they would pay for that house, I call that cash market.
Got it.
Well, we're going to put it on the market at 10 to 20% above cash market.
Okay.
With the following thing. It's going to say, your credit is approved, no bank financing, owner will finance. And then we go into a little story about that property. And all of a sudden, what do you get, Gabe? You get a big fat down payment from that customer coming in when they're using one of my levels to the path to home ownership. That's the in-house financing level. Then we get a minimum of 10% down. So when we get that 10%, that's a nice hunk of money all by itself.
Totally.
And then secondly, we're getting a monthly income. So month after month after month, I'm getting a cash flow off that property. We're helping that person to step up, build up their credit, build up their down payment. Eventually, they can qualify for a loan from the bank if they want to. Otherwise, Gabe, I'm going to be the bank for that customer for the next 40 years. And now, remember, they paid me 10% down. And now we're going to give them a 40-year agreement for deed. And I'm going to get a nice interest rate on that too, because they're less than perfect credit. typically, or they can't qualify for a traditional low interest loan. So of course, we're going to get a premium on that. Why? Because they don't have any other options and we're taking a higher risk. So we're not like banks that take the very low risk, the very low hanging fruit, the easy stuff. We're willing to take a bit more risk for a higher reward, a higher return on that income.
So I have a question. This is probably more and back to what Gabe was saying. The market's been so hot for the last 10, 12 years, so people haven't been through and you haven't had to use these strategies. Now that the market's shifting these strategies, but I have a question, for somebody that's experienced that's listening to this, like with the Dodd-Frank, how are you doing the 40-year term? Because I thought that was modified.
It is. If you're going to do it yourself, in most states, you can only do 3. Some states you can do 5. And so as a result of the limitation of the Dodd-Frank Act, you can do that yourself and you don't have to have a licensed mortgage loan originator. However, all you have to do is get a licensed mortgage loan originator and you can do as many as you want to. And you do not have to become one yourself. You just need someone to sign off on what's called the ability to repay, the ATR, the ability to repay of your customer. So all they're going to do is look at the same things you look at, which is what is their income? What is their length of time on the job? Is this going to be a sustainable loan? Are they taking a larger percentage of their income that would not be sustainable? That kind of stuff that we do anyway. We're not looking for customers that are going to fail. We're looking for customers that are going to win. We have a saying, send check, don't call. Send check, don't call.
Right.
So we're just looking for customers that are going to be committed to us.
So what kind of debt to income ratio are they looking at when they're looking at that, like 40, 43%? Is that what you're kind of looking at?
Just the same guidelines that a traditional bank would look at. And just with the distinction that we may be willing to take on some additional risk because of their current credit score or the type of income that they have, such as Gabe was just suggesting about being self-employed and the banks didn't love him. And the same is true for a lot of entrepreneurs. So we love entrepreneurs. We love people with businesses. We love people that, get up and go to work and cause things to happen in their world, and they have something to show for it.
Okay. So are you using RMLOs or you have your own system set up with
So
that?
once you go past that 3, then we have what we call our mortgage whiz, and he comes in and starts signing off on those. And that's 3 within a 12-month rolling period. So it's not just a calendar year, it's a 12-month rolling period. You can do 3 yourself before you need to bring them in. But once you bring them in, you got to follow all the rules.
And are they preparing the closing documents as well? Or
nope.
They're just signing off that you have that in the file. So if anything happens, you have documentation that you went through that process.
That's correct. And when it's our agreement for deed customers, meaning that they're giving us at least 10% down, we close those at a real estate attorney's office.
Wow.
Now, are you putting them both on the title, or is it just the seller still on title and they're just sitting in open escrow?
So our trust that is selling the property to them is still holding that title to the property, and we do something called agreement for deed. They have the agreement to get the deed to the property once they pay us off. So it's very similar to a vehicle where the lender keeps the title to the property, keeps the title to the vehicle. We do the same thing. We keep the title to the real estate because we're taking a higher risk. We're getting a lower down. The bank wants 20% down without insurance. So, in our case, and I'm talking about, PMI, private mortgage insurance. Well, we're not getting private mortgage insurance, but we are taking a higher risk, and therefore we hold on to the deed until they pay us off.
I like it.
If somebody comes along, Mark, that has 20% down, then we'll give them the deed to the property, just like the bank has no problem with that.
So if these people default, what's that process? Are you going through a foreclosure? Like how does that work?
The truth is I've had so few. I've only had a couple that I've actually had to go through the full-blown foreclosure process. Generally speaking, And why this does work in our world is we're much closer to the customers than a bank is. So we're much closer to their world and what's going on in their world and what have you. So generally, we can work with that client. You know, maybe they've had a setback. Maybe we need to do a modification. Maybe we need to do something to rescue them. And we can do that at a close-up personal level that banks, you know, they wait 3 months before they even declare a default and start, you know, rattling the cage of a customer. Well, by 3 months, there's deep trouble there.
Right.
That's hard to get out for a lot of people. But so generally, we're much closer to their situation. And Mark, what we generally do is some kind of workout, or we're able to negotiate where we can get the keys. Sometimes we downsize the client to something more affordable if they've had a job upset, breakdown, something like that. And so generally speaking, we just don't have the defaults, especially at that 10% level that you do in other type of real estate.
That's great. That's awesome. I love it.
It's been a wonderful thing. And, you know, one of the biggest things is really that book. It says, you know, doing good while doing well. And that's one of the big distinctions that occurred for me is, you know, yes, this is a very wonderful business. And yes, we make some really good money at this business. And at some point it becomes very repetitious. At some point it's just became, yeah, another one.
Yeah.
And when I realized the impact that I was having on other people's lives and the tears and the joy and the excitement and things that were occurring, I realized just how much we were impacting not only those folks in front of me, but their children and their children's children and their children. You know, they say that it's 7 levels deep. It's 7 generations from now. What that family makes a decision to do, and they might be trapped into just being renters right now.
Right.
And they would love to have home ownership. And then we come along and we have the path to home ownership. Oh my gosh. They say, where have you been? I've been looking for you. I love you. I appreciate you. And they will cause things to happen. But Mark, a bigger story is the amount of referrals that we get. So once people are in the program, they start bringing us customers, right? They start, We've got one family, we got 4 different family members in different homes under our program.
It's awesome. And I can relate because I've been through this process before, and that feeling of those families that couldn't get a home through the traditional lending institution. And when you do it, I can't tell you it's such an amazing high feeling of like gratitude of, and somebody asked me that same question. I said, what do I really enjoy out of it is really helping that family to kind of get into home ownership. Yes, you're making a little bit of money, but you're helping them out, because I come from that background where in the beginning of my life, my childhood, like we wanted to try to get home ownership and we struggled, and my parents struggled and they didn't know how to do it. And then when you figure a way of being in a business that how to put a system in place to help those families, it's a whole different ballgame. It really is.
Well, Mark, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I come from no silver spoons. I come from an immigrant mother that came to this country, and she had met her American trooper husband. Everything was going to be fantastic. She came over on the Queen Mary, and then she found out he was an alcoholic and an abuser. So she had to get rid of him. Here she was in this country all by herself. And then she met my father, her second mistake. So it just ended up being the 2 of us. And it was an amazing experience, because it was she raising me and me raising her at the same time. And she didn't understand money. She didn't understand what interest does to people and the impact that can have and the no future that can have. So as a result, I was raised with nothing. And it was very hard times for sure. And then I met one of her friends, and I call her Aunt Mabel. And Aunt Mabel at 8 years old is telling me that she had bought the duplex she lived in, and the people on the other side were paying enough money to cover the mortgage. And that meant to my 8-year-old brain, she's living for free. And here we are hiding out from the rent man, and here she is living for free. And I started paying attention, and, you know, one thing led to another. Over the years, she ended up with 5 duplexes on the same street that she lived on.
Wow.
And they had a wonderful life, and they got a new Cadillac every other year, and they went out to the steakhouse every night. And, you know, it was just a different perspective from my mother and I having no money and them having a wonderful life. So I paid attention to that. And then she told me at 18 years old, she said, you need to buy a house. And I said, buy a house? I said, you go to banks and qualify for loans. How can I do that? And so sure enough, I met a friend of hers, a realtor, that took me around like I was going to buy a house at 18 years old, right? And sure enough, I found out that I could take over the existing financing on the property. And so as a result of that lesson at 18 years old, I bought my first house by taking over the existing financing. And when I said earlier about the seller is the bank, I really mean that, because that's my plan, to be able to take over the existing financing on that property. Or if they have equity, the seller's going to carry back financing, or a combination of the two. And yes, in some cases, we're going to buy properties for cash, and we raise that money privately without going to banks and without qualifying for loans.
All right. So this is good, guys. For those who are listening to this, they're probably wondering, Lou, what the heck are you talking about? Like, in all honesty, like, really, like, we get it, because this is a conversation we have within our group, within Power Play. Guys, if you want to connect with us more, go to the website, go to the our Facebook page or chat, YouTube channel. You can connect with us there. We're always available, answering questions there, and just trying to help out the community, really shifting a culture, right? But in all honesty, there's new people going, what the heck are you talking? Like, how is this even? Just like you at 18, I mean, I was like that at 35 years old, you know, going, what do you mean? Like, I didn't know any of this stuff.
That's right.
And I missed. And here's the thing for me. For those who don't know, it's just the beginning of the market cycle that's on a downward trend. I'm starting to get calls from my broker friends and other people saying, hey, can you just take over the payments? Hey, what can you do for one of my clients? And I'm like, okay. And right now, most of them are still wanting cash and stuff. They're not motivated in that way just yet, but we're entering into a season, y'all, who if you don't know, if you just got involved with real estate last couple of years, I remember being around in 2008. I remember seeing some badass deals that I wasn't able to acquire. I didn't know how to set things up. I was lost. I signed up for some freaking national program a couple of years later. That didn't help me. Everybody was making money off of me. And I was like, how is this even possible? How do I transition? So what would you advise to someone who's just getting in? Now, we all have to remember, like, this is someone who hasn't gone through multiple cycles. So they don't have the knowledge or maybe the understanding of, like, what happened the last couple of years. So what's going to happen that you can predict that's saying, hey, these are the things to watch out? Maybe personal financing, maybe some debt structure, maybe get some of these other things in order to help you advance.
Well, you're 100% right. This is the terror phase, right? Where people are realizing that things are not jumping right up, and then there's multiple buyers, you know, fighting against each other and putting in ridiculous contracts to buy real estate. And that's a great thing. So what did we cover on this call? It was exactly that. Go find your buyer first. You can't screw that up. If you've got a customer, you know how much down payment they have. You know how much they can afford on a monthly basis. You know what kind of work they're willing to do, if any. And now you've got something to now go custom buy a property for. You can't screw that up, regardless of what the market does, regardless of the ups and downs and sideways and everything else. In fact, I call my program Flattening the Real Estate Curve, because the curve is real in real estate. You know, the roller coaster up and down and up and down. We've known about it. We've heard about it for decades, and we've got the opportunity to be able to go and do this again and again and again when you've got your customer. So think to yourself, I want to build a customer driven company. I want to go find people, and they're all over the place, by the way. They're at work, at church, they're on the street. In fact, when I wear my logo wear, that people are saying, "What's that? I know somebody," or "I need that. Give me your card." And I get their information as well. And then we connect. I have them fill out a questionnaire, and they give me all their details online. So I'm able to take that information and actually match them to a property. It's so wonderful. And, it's a full blown criteria that we do with folks. So we're able to really determine who we have. And so knowing how much down payment they have, I can now go about negotiating a deal with a seller, knowing that I've got money to work with because it's coming from my buyer. So if my buyer's got 40 grand down, no problem. If my seller wants 10 grand down, right? That's still 30 grand in my pocket. Maybe my seller wants 20 grand down. No problem. I've got a customer with 40 grand down. I'm not going to tell my seller that, but that's the keys to the kingdom. I really know this. And that's when I created my house monster system. So we call it the house monster. And the house monster is literally designed to go find those customers, to bring those customers to you, to give you the opportunity. There's a questionnaire in there to ask the right questions of those people, capture the right information, and then go about finding the property that they need, that they can actually afford. And that's why we call it affordable housing. And that's another little criteria in there that people should understand, is that when we're saying affordable housing, it's not the price of the home, it's what the customer can afford. So up front, we're determining what they can afford. Now we're going about finding a property that matches their situation. So we've got $400,000 and $600,000 affordable houses, all because we found the customers for those kind of properties.
That's great. That's great. So do you have a website that these people can go and check out?
I do. In fact, a great starting place, Gabe, to tie in with what you were saying is like, what do I do and where do I go? I have a one-day, we call it the Wealth Builder Workshop. They can go to wbwlive.com, wbwlive.com, and actually just see about the workshop. It's one day for $1. So it's not a big investment. Wow. To really learn.
So what is it? WW what?
wbwlive.com. WBW, and that stands for Wealth Builder Workshop. Live.com.
Live. Got it. So question, and we always ask this, and I think you kind of gave a few of them. I think I know what it may be, is, what do you think in your life, what was the biggest power play move that really changed your life? That really was like the aha moment. I think you might've mentioned it, but what do you think?
It was definitely getting smacked down by that last economy. It was definitely getting stuck with 12 properties that we had money, all kinds of private money tied up in. We had fixed them up beautifully. We had done the right thing, and the market slapped us in the face. And then I said, okay, I got to back up and punt here. And I've never been taken out of the business, over 40 years in the game, never been taken down, never been taken out, because we were able to navigate. So the important thing is to set up a business model where you are navigating the downturns, because it's going to happen sooner or later. It's going to happen, as we're experiencing right now, and as we will experience again. So what happens is that when you have customers and you have income, so you got the big fat down payments, and then you've got income on a monthly basis, because I say dependable, predictable monthly income is the keys to the kingdom. So a lot of real estate investors, they're hanging their hat on wholesaling and retailing, and they're going to buy this house and fix it up and flip it. Well, when is that payday? When is that going to happen? You see, with my model, we're actually receiving dependable, predictable monthly income. So that's the way that I look at it, is anytime I can give people good advice, it's about creating that income flow. So you got the hunk, and I call it bits and pieces and hunks and chunks. So we've got bits and pieces of money happening monthly, as well as hunks of money. And that's the down payment money coming in from our customers. And then when they purchase the property, that's the chunks of the money. So bits and pieces and hunks and chunks is the keys to the kingdom.
So for those who don't know, he's the description here that he's talking about is the difference of getting really today money, right? And that's the today money. A lot of people call it is the wholesaling, the flipping. This is the transactional money. Now, this is if you're a realtor or a broker, you're doing your commissions and your splits, and that's basically wholesaling too. Is you're getting a commission for the deal that you find, selling it to a buyer. Yeah, and the crazy thing about that is you also know the buyer, right? Like that's the goal, and that's exactly what Lou's talking about. The other side is the flip side, where you're basically putting it on the market, and then you put it on the market. You want to see somewhere in there, hopefully get top price, top value for it. You're taking care of all the odds and ends and the stuff that someone might complain about, which I mean, I have years of experience in the flipping world. And then you have the cash flow model. And the cool thing about what he's doing is combining the two models together, right? And so you're getting that down payment. Now there's going to be some legwork, guys, for doing this up front. You got a lot of legwork up front to do, but on the sell side, you get cash for the down payment. And we do that for a lot of our mobile home parks we sell or finance the mobile homes. And so we'll get cash, 5-10% of whatever on the down payment. And then we just create a note for the buyer and we get that cash flow also. The cool thing for us that we also get lot rent, right? And that's kind of already formulated in the process as we do that for our mobile home parks. So the guys, this is a cool strategy. Lou,
you're gonna love this, Gabe. It says cash now, cash flow, cash forever. So this is my book called Buy, Hold, Sell. And nice. This is my international bestseller that goes through the entire model of what we do and how we do it.
Lou, what's the best way? Or do you think that like some of our audience should be go to Audible, go to Amazon or somewhere like that and just type it in?
No, I will give them a $5 coupon. How about that?
That's good. That's good.
So they can go to StreetSmartWiz, WIZ.com, Street Smart Wiz. Street Smart is the name of my company. StreetSmartWiz.com /BHS book. That stands for Buy, Hold, Sell Book. So BHS book gives you a $5 off coupon, and you can have your own copy of the Buy, Hold, Sell, where you get cash now, cash flow, and cash forever. So Gabe, I love how you laid it out, because that's exactly what it is when someone is really committed to this business, and I kind of smile when people talk about wholesaling, because I go, do you know that I buy a lot of my properties from wholesalers? And the reason I buy my property, I love wholesalers.
There you go.
And I beg them to come to my class. I beg them. I say, you don't know what listen, I love you for bringing me this deal because I've already got a customer for it.
Right.
And however, I really recommend that you come to my class, because I've got something to show you about what we do with these properties that you're not aware of. So you're making a few $1,000s off this one property. I'm going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars off this same property.
Right.
They go, what? And I go, yeah, you got to learn how financing works.
This
is not the real estate game. This is the finance game, guys. And when you learn that you're in the finance business and not in the real estate game, and we just use real estate as a commodity, then you're able to make so much more in this business.
You got to love that amortization schedule. Especially when you show the seller. I mean, it just slaps them right in the face, wow, I'm going to make an extra $100,000. It just works great. Lou, this stuff has been amazing. Thank you so much. And, I'm so happy that I actually got to sit here and interview you on our Power Play. Because, I mean, you've been an idol of mine for years. I'm talking way back in the late 90s, early 2000s of just kind of following you throughout the years and I've learned so much from you. And that's kind of how I learn all my creative stuff is, through some of your techniques. So I thank you so much I appreciate it. If anybody listening, please make sure you follow us, subscribe. You can listen to Real Estate Power Play on any of your favorite podcasts. Check us out on YouTube. Again, Lou, how can people reach out to you one more time?
And our website is streetsmartinvestor.com, streetsmartinvestor.com. And you can learn more about the whole enchilada, which is what Mark has been talking about. That's probably what you bought years ago, Mark, was my whole enchilada system. Huh?
Yeah, it was definitely, I don't remember, it was so long ago, but it was great stuff. So really appreciate it. Thank everybody for listening. Gabe, thanks so much. We'll see you guys all later. Thanks again, Lou.
Yeah, baby. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Take care.
This has been another episode of Real Estate Power Play, guiding real estate entrepreneurs to a brighter future. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcast or follow us on YouTube at Real Estate Power Play.